Everybody and their mother is going to ask you this, but I'm just so curious why you decided to release it this way. And I know people might bring up Kiss. For me, this is so different.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Well,
you want to do it this way and like a family way still.
yeah, there's an interesting thing I think about this, looking at 30 years of being a band, and you're always searching for ways to both creatively challenge yourself and also tell cool stories. And when looking at the makeup of our band, one of the things that really makes us unique is that we all write and we all sing. And there aren't a lot of bands currently that are that way. And so you go, how do you make the most of that? How do you talk about that story of why Hanson is what we are? And the idea of doing 3 EPs was that was the crux of the idea. Wow, we'll just do 3 pieces. Like Isaac will make something and Taylor. And then we said, but to tell the story, it kind of needs to come out together, right? So you see them next to each other. So you compare them in the positive way. I mean, there's always a risk that someone goes, really, I didn't realize that I only like Zach.
Hey, Zach.
But, that's not what this is about. It's about sort of seeing the positive qualities of what each brother brings to the table. And we all, I think, looked at the process in a little bit of a different way. It sounds like Hanson at its core, but like Hanson on a different journey, on a different angle. And hopefully that brings light to what people have been listening to for decades and makes them like it more.
We also wanted the opportunity to talk about ourselves in third person. Hanson is thinking that Hanson is going to do this, and when you do it separately, like, well, guys, what do you think Hanson should do? Well,
there are definitely more like oohs and ahs and a little bit less of the classic kind of Hanson style or maybe even gospel style where you're singing all the lyric. It's not that there aren't things like that are traditionally things we would do, but the arrangements lean away from it and lean more into there is a lead vocalist kind of thing. So it's interesting.
I mean, I think the big creative change, right, is about intuition, right? And so when you go into a process as a group, you're kind of having to pose questions. You're going, hey, what do you think? Where do you want to go? In this case, when you're doing it as a solo endeavor, it's really what is my intuition? What is my natural inclination? Because there's no one to talk to but yourself. And so you really have to just dive into that kind of side of really the confidence it takes to just say, you know what, this is what I've always wanted to do, or this is where I'm feeling today. And we have years of writing together. You know how to write a song, but it is a different process to just sit there by yourself and say, this is just all about me.
Is it more vulnerable?
What?
Is that more vulnerable, or like you just pumping that ego a little bit?
No, it is vulnerable. No, absolutely. It's there. You're kind of hopping on one leg because you become so used to working together in a group. And I think it made for some really cool sounds and some self-exploration that is in the lyrics and the sounds of the record. I know I hear that in Red and Green, and I felt it at moments in writing this record. There's a song on the blue portion called Where I Belong, right? And it very much explores this idea of like feeling a little out of place. And just being in a new creative space really helped kind of bring that message home. Like, wow, I'm doing this on my own. And then I can dive into this feeling of saying, what's my place in the world?
To buy me time, and it's cold as ice.
Isaac, I'm curious for you for Cold as Ice, like that groove and everything, the inspiration. Obviously, the vulnerability and like write your song and all of that, but you end your EP off of that. What was the inspiration for that track?
So for me, the thing about Cold as Ice and the way that song ended up is twofold. One, I really felt like it was important at the end of the recording process to have a kind of together jam kind of moment, a victory lap of sorts, because the way the record was actually recorded was actually blue, red, and then green. So my EP was last. And it just felt like an opportunity that we had and kind of needed to kind of just put a little cherry on the top of the sundae. What's also funny about that song is the song was not like that until about an hour before we recorded it. It was actually a ballad, and I could play it for you as the ballad version, and you go, oh yeah, that's kind of the same song. It's the same lyrics and mostly the same melody, but it's significantly slower, and they're so anyway. It was just important to have something that was ruckus and exciting and groovy, because that is so much a part of who we are as a unit. And I just wanted to have a piece of that on the record.
I have like a minute 30 to ask 3 more questions, so I'm trying to get it out. So Zach, I do want to ask about Bad, because you got synced, like that song.
Yeah.
Badass. Is that the same thing? Did that start off as a ballad?
Bad did not start off as a ballad. You know, in everything that I did on the record, as far as what it was written about, I wanted to try and capture really true feelings. And that classic kind of fight song was really always in me. We have some of that in our history as a band. And I was just connecting with kind of this feeling. I think so many people going through the world right now have felt over the last couple of years, this sense of we're in conflict with each other. Like everything is dividing each other. And it's almost like a victory to divide people. And so that song is really just about how like that's toxic. You know, I bet you think you're great because you just declared that I suck. You know, like, and it's just not. Yeah. It's not a good way to live. It's not a good way to be, and
certainly not a good way for society to live.
Yeah. So the song is really just kind of exploring that. I think it comes from growing up listening to Queen and listening to Black or White. Michael Jackson. Like, there's this era of like, man, I'm good with who I am, and I'm strong enough to sort of fight the bully and say, hey, that's not cool.